Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I'm Rohit Paradkar, and this here is the new Royal Enfield Bear 650. It is a scrambler interpretation or a scrambler variant based on the Interceptor 650. So let's take a closer look at what's different and what sets the Bear 650 apart. So we are in California right now, very close to the Big Bear. Now, the Big Bear is a very famous touristy location if you're coming towards Los Angeles in California, and that is where essentially this motorcycle gets its name from. So there used to be this racing series, I think there still is, where the riders would ride on the deserts, the flat desert lands near the Bear Lake, the Big Bear Lake, and that was called the Big Bear Race. And from there, Royal Enfields have had illustrious history, and which is where I think this name comes from. That is why it's called the Bear 650. And while the communication says Bear 650 everywhere, on the motorcycle itself, you will see this little INT written to quickly remind you that this was based, or this is based on the Interceptor. Because you see, when they first started exporting the Interceptor back in the 60s to the American market, it had a scrambler representation like this, and that's the reason why it was called the VAX Interceptor. So just a quick history lesson for you. The old Interceptor from the 60s, when it was exported to the US market, the engine case would read VAX. The engine numbers would read VAX. In the UK, they would begin with VA. The X, however, for the American market essentially meant that it was an experimental motorcycle, an experimental engine for that market, because, like I said, it was given that scrambler treatment with knobby tires, higher ground clearance, different suspension, etc., compared to the bikes that were sold in the UK. So that's your quick history lesson. But yeah, that is where the Bear gets its credentials from. The Bear 650 is the scrambler interpretation of the Interceptor 650 that we know of so far. So what does it get? Well, for starters, the immediate thing that you're going to notice, apart from the paint jobs, of course, is the knobby tires. Now you will see that they bear a resemblance, a very close resemblance in the tread pattern to the Pirelli Rally STR. Now these are going to be available in 19 front and 17 rear, the rear being a 140 section with a 17-inch rim. The Interceptor, on the other hand, gets 18-inch front and rear, whereas the Bear gets a 19 front and a 17 rear. Now the good news is, because this is MRF, it should be also cheaper to replace, and some of you who may have similar sizes on your motorcycle and want something similar in tread pattern will now find a cheaper alternative to the Pirelli Rally STR with these new MRF Nilorex F tires. So those are the tires for you. The other bit is the suspension, of course. So you will remember on the Interceptor, you get the gas charged shocks at the rear. Here you don't get them, but you get longer suspension travel, significantly longer. This is 150 millimeters of rear wheel travel that you're going to get, whereas at the front you now get Showa suspension, upside down forks. Now you've seen Showa suspension being used on the 650 platform with the Super Meteor and the Shotgun. Here, however, the suspension is going to be slightly different to go with the slightly more travel requirements of the Scrambler. So you're going to get 130 millimeters of front travel, which again is significantly more than the Interceptor. Now the engine largely remains the same. The geometry of the engine, the mounting of the engine in the chassis, all of that remains the same, including the radiator and all of that, right? So you will obviously be able to spec it up with better radiator guards if you so need. You'll be able to spec it up with a sump guard for that oil filter, for the sump and all of that, if you are going to be riding on a lot of dirt. But to ensure that it doesn't get affected, they've also put in a different fender. So again, compared to the Interceptor, you're also going to get more space, I think, between the wheel and the, or rather tire and the fender. So that is again going to give you better capability of the road, especially in slushy terrain, etc. And like I said, the mud flap extends all the way down. It's got a twin color arrangement or a dual tone arrangement depending on the color that you choose. On some of them they are full black. What you are also going to get is better torque. So while it puts out similar 47 PS of power, the torque is now up to 56.5 Newton meters, which is about 8% better than the Interceptor 650's engine. That's not all. What they've also done is taken up the torque curve completely. So it's not a random peak, or just one point on the torque curve that has gone up somewhere around the rev range. The entire curve has been picked up so that you will be able to get better rideability. Does it really make any difference? Do you feel the difference is something that we'll tell you in our review, because we'll be extensively riding this motorcycle. But like I said, right now this walk around we'll only keep for the visuals and for the specs. Now, the other big change, however, for the engine is you will remember the Interceptor or all the other 650s get a dual exhaust. Here, however, you will see these twin pipes coming and converging into a single unit. And then there is another big chunk right below that you will see there. And then you get this stubby exhaust canister, which is, I think, the shortest that I've seen so far on any of these Royal Enfield 650s. The braking hardware largely remains the same. It's only the rear disc that has been increased in size. So now you get a 270mm rear disc compared to a 240 that we see on the Interceptor. The rear section of the chassis and some of the mounting in the front, they've made a little bit of change to the geometry there, and that is essentially to give it slightly more how do I put it, slightly more strength to make it stronger for not just the pillion but pillion plus luggage, because they expect a lot of people to maybe go 2 up plus luggage, or at least the rider taking a big bag that will be simply just bungeed onto the rear seat, that kind of a thing, when they go for their little trails and camping escapades, etc. So they are expecting that to happen, which is why they have strengthened the rear side. And then you'll also see the high-rise rear fender to again go with those scrambler credentials. And if you look at the seat, if I were to just move back a little bit, the rear part of the seat has been kicked up a little bit. But it's pretty flat that way. There is no bucket as such. It's pretty flat that way. It gets that rip texture on it. So when you're riding off the road, moving around on the seat shouldn't be a problem, is the target for this. How does it behave off the road though? Is it really that good? Does it make much of a difference? Why I say much of a difference is because we've seen a lot of people take the Interceptors and then modify them with knobby tires and then slightly higher rising handlebars, etc., and then take them a little bit off the road, maybe on the trails, go scrambling, etc. And that is again the kind of crowd that Royal Enfield wants to target with this. People who are hoping to get an Interceptor and modify it. Instead of that, now you have the factory option is what Royal Enfield wants to give you, right? So from that perspective, how is the riding posture? Does it really perform well off the road? Does it really fit that well? Is something I will talk about in my review, because we are planning to take this bike on a few trails as a part of our media ride program right now. Now I'll come to the front end. The handlebar has been raised a little bit. I just mentioned about it, that people raise the handlebar a bit. A common complaint is that you have to reach out quite a bit on the handlebar of the Interceptor. So they have raised the handlebar a little bit. How much of a difference that makes is again something that I'm going to try out. I'm going to ride it in multiple scenarios, city, highway, etc., and see if they have fixed that, because the riding triangle was a bit of a concern. But yes, the riding triangle is going to be different on the Bear 650, both when you're sitting as well as standing. So that is another change that you're going to see. You also see this bar right here. So if you want to put a tool roll, or if you want to, when you're going off-roading, put a protective pad right here, you can do that as well. And right behind that flickering that you see, that's purely because of the camera. The actual instrumentation is not flickering, but yeah, it is the same instrumentation that we've seen on some of the other Royal Enfield motorcycles. So you get that. Like I mentioned, Showa suspension, you can see that, but there is no adjustability on the suspension. You do get preload adjustability, however, for the rear shocks. So that's going to be the other bit. Rest of the stuff remains pretty much similar. So you get the same kind of grips and switch cube, etc., that you see on the other Royal Enfields. You also see the mode switch right here on the switch cube, and when I press that, you will hopefully see it on the screen. Yeah, there you go, ride mode. So there are no ride modes, but rear ABS is on, and here the rear ABS is off. You'll be able to switch off the rear ABS when you're riding off the road. So if you want that kind of control, you will be able to switch that off. We just saw that. Now with the additional wheel travel, with the new suspension, etc., what you also get is 10mm increase on the ground clearance. So this bike is going to ride slightly higher than the Interceptor. So if you had any concerns about the Interceptor scraping, or the ground clearance wasn't good enough for you, this is going to give you 184mm of ground clearance. So hopefully that should work for you. Now let's come back to the styling. There are going to be 4 colors that are going to be available out of the box. There's also going to be another one with the 249 written on it. That's going to be the top of the line. So that 5th option is essentially something that Royal Enfield is doing as an homage to the guy who won the first Royal Enfield trophy on for the Big Bear race that I was telling you about right at the beginning. And his racing number was 249. His name was Eddie, and Eddie won it at the age of 16, and his racing number was 249, and that was a Royal Enfield 500 that he won on, but that was made into a scrambler and that bike had the number 249 on it. So as an homage to that, they have put the 249 on the top of the line variant for this. What you're also going to get is this yellow color that you see here. It's a combination of yellow and white. This is called the Wild Honey. This is the color that we have been riding, and this will be the only color that we are riding right now for this one. And you will see 6.5 written on the tank and 650 written there with the Bear. That's a part of the Bear logo, and 6.5 essentially points towards the 650cc that you're looking at with this engine. There's going to be a black, which seems quite inspired by the older Interceptors and the Conti GT in terms of the color combinations. And then there is also a white, which is called the Broadway white, which is again an ode to some of the colors that you will see from old, racing and maybe old fashion in and around California. So those colors are again something that you're going to see on the Broadway white. So these are going to be the three primary colors. There's also a green that I have not seen yet in the flesh, so I can't really tell you much about it. Yeah, you I think already know which one is going to be my favorite, but I think I'll hold it because it would be an opinion, so I'll hold it till the review drops. But let me know what is going to be your favorite color out of the four that we've just shown you. And as for the motorcycle, let me know what are your questions about it. What would you like to know? I've given you a rundown on the specs. In terms of the pricing, I don't know exactly where it is going to be right now. The pricing is going to be unveiled very soon at the EICMA. So the EICMA is happening in Milan. That is where Royal Enfield intends to show their electric concept that was leaked a little while back. But that is where they will also announce the pricing for this motorcycle. Where do you think is this going to be priced at? Will it be more than the Interceptor? Will it be more than the Conti GT, the Shotgun, the Super Meteor, or will it lie somewhere in between? If in between, where exactly? We have these four motorcycles for reference. So let me know what are your thoughts. What do you predict? Where is the pricing of this motorcycle going to sit in that 650 lineup from Royal Enfield? So and like I said, if you have any other questions about the motorcycle, something that you want me to answer in my review, since the walk around is going to drop first, it will allow me enough time to answer your questions in my review. Or if I can't do it there, I will obviously come back to the comments and I will give you whatever answers you need about this particular bike. The launch of this motorcycle is going to be in the first week of November, right around that EICMA time when the prices go live, and you should be able to get one right away. So let me know what are your thoughts. What do you think about the styling? What do you think about the specs? Yeah, one last spec that I forgot to mention, the weight. So this is going to be 216 kilos if I'm not wrong, so it's slightly heavier. So also let me know what are your thoughts about the weight. Is that too much? Is that okay? Is that manageable, or no, they should have gone with something lighter? Again, something that I want to know from you. And before we go, let's also listen to the exhaust note and then sign off. So here you can So that is the exhaust note for you. That is what the 2-in-1 exhaust system sounds like. So here are the other colors that we're talking about. That is the black and gray. That is the yellow that we spoke about when we did the walk around. There was a green one that passed as well. So here are all the bikes standing next to each other. The black one, you will notice, also gets the golden forks that you can see here, whereas the yellow one doesn't get it. So those are going to be your different colors. And the last one is the green that we were talking about. It's also accessorized. So let's also take a look at the green color. So that's your green. It's got those orange accents. You also get the orange pinstriping on the wheel. And this is the headlight guard, a little fly screen. This thing I was talking about with the handlebar. These are going to be your leg guards right there. And some luggage for you, and a brown seat that you see. So those are going to be some of the accessories that you will be able to get on this motorcycle. So thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much if you have stuck around all the way till the end. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and do consider sharing this video and giving us a thumbs up as well.